Some jobs feel safe for a simple reason. They require thinking, analysis, planning, decision making, not manual work, not routine labor. So they seem difficult to automate. But that assumption may be misleading because the jobs that look safe often share a hidden characteristic. They follow structure. Consider roles like analysts, planners, or consultants. Their work involves gathering information, identifying patterns, and producing structured outputs. Reports, recommendations, forecasts. The tasks feel complex, they require training and experience, but they often follow repeatable steps. Now compare that to how AI systems operate. They analyze data, detect patterns, and generate structured outputs. Not in exactly the same way, but in a way that overlaps with many of these tasks. This is where the tension appears. The same structure that makes a job valuable also makes parts of it predictable, and predictability is what automation depends on. Take a common example. A business analyst prepares a report. They collect data, clean it, identify trends, and summarize findings. Each step requires attention, but the sequence is familiar. Given similar inputs, the process produces similar outputs. AI systems are designed to operate in that kind of environment. They perform well when patterns are stable and tasks are clearly defined, which means they can assist with, or sometimes replace, parts of this process. The result is not immediate job loss. It is partial overlap. The analyst still works, but less time is spent on data preparation, less time on initial analysis, less time on drafting. This pattern repeats across many roles. Marketing teams generate structured campaigns. Finance teams produce forecasts and reports. Legal teams review documents and extract information. Each role involves expertise, but also repeatable processes. This is why the perception of safety can be misleading. People often associate complexity with protection. If a task feels difficult, it seems harder to automate. But difficulty for humans does not always mean unpredictability. And predictability is what matters. There is a reasonable counterargument. Some argue that these roles are safe because they require judgment. Context matters. Decisions are nuanced, situations vary, and that is true. AI systems do not fully replicate human judgment. They can assist, but not replace it entirely. But full replacement is not required. If a system can handle 30 or 40% of the work, the role changes. The need for human input decreases, or expectations increase. Either way, the structure shifts. Another factor is scale. AI systems can perform similar tasks across many cases simultaneously. What one analyst does in a day, a system can assist with across hundreds of cases. This does not eliminate the need for analysts, but it changes how many are needed. There is also a standardization effect. When many organizations use similar tools, outputs begin to converge. Reports follow similar formats. Recommendations use similar language. Processes become more uniform. This can reduce differentiation. If outputs look similar across teams, it becomes harder to stand out based on execution alone. The value shifts elsewhere, toward defining the problem, interpreting results, and making decisions. Second order effects can emerge over time. If structured tasks are increasingly automated, early stage roles may shrink. Fewer opportunities to learn the basics, less exposure to the underlying processes. At the same time, experienced roles may become more focused on oversight, reviewing outputs, making final decisions, handling exceptions. The center of the job moves upward. This creates a gap. Fewer people building experience, more demand for high-level judgment, but fewer clear pathways to reach it. None of this means these jobs disappear. In many cases, they remain essential, but they do not remain unchanged. The parts that rely on structure and repetition become easier to automate. The parts that rely on context and interpretation become more important. The challenge is that both parts exist in the same role, and they are being separated. The perception of safety comes from the whole job, but automation acts on the parts. So a job can feel secure, while parts of it are already being replaced. Over time, that distinction becomes more important. Not whether a job is safe or unsafe, but which parts of it are stable and which parts are already changing. Because the jobs that look safe are often the ones we understand best, and that familiarity can make the risk harder to see. What feels complex from the inside may still follow patterns, and those patterns are exactly what systems learn to replicate. Which means the real question is not whether a job requires thinking, it is whether that thinking follows a structure. Because if it does, it may already be closer to automation than it appears.